one of the biggest challenges to thinking about selling your home is the whole process of what do we do with everything. And it's very, and you know what, it's an emotional thing, and I think that's one of the things that it makes it really difficult. So today what I thought I would do, I just have a few screens that we'll go through. So my goal is just to have you start thinking about it, because I think that in my experience in working with people, the sooner they sort of start in small ways, the easier it becomes in the long run. I think if you had to, you could put your house on the market in 2 weeks, but it's very stressful. If you have a year or two to plan ahead, start thinking about where you would like to go and what you'd like to do. So basically, my goal here, as I said, is just to have you start thinking about it. The actual resources, like if you said to me, okay, I'd like to clean out my garage, how do can I get a dumpster, or what do I do next? Those like specific questions, I can help you with all of that later. So what I thought I would do is just give you a little overview, and then I can answer your questions. You can get a hold of me later, but we do have lots of different resources, whether it's contractors or painters or dumpster guys or whatever. We have all that from all the years that I've been in the business. So anyway, so here's my team, the Goodwin team. We're a Corcoran. Legends is our company name. That's the broker. We have an office in Irvington, Terrytown, Briarcliff, and one in Bronxville. So we're an affiliate of Corcoran out of the city. I don't know if you remember, or if you've ever heard. You've probably seen Shark Tank. Barbara Corcoran. So she started a real estate company, very successful real estate company in New York City. Sold it, and then that's still the same company, but and we're an affiliate. So we're like a local franchise. So we're a locally owned and operated business, and I'm one of the brokers in that business. So anyway, let's see, we're going to go on to the next. So that's a little bit of our background. And as I said, I'm Debra Goodwin. Karen Morano's not here today, but she's our sort of our marketing arm. She's also a licensed agent. Laura's right in the back here, and Joel is right in the back as well. So Laura and Joel. Laura has experience in the city. Joel is my youngest team member, but he's also one of my most technically savvy guys. So that's our team of people. And the reason we have a team is because in any situation, it's always, if you have multiple people to help you, it's better. Meaning if I'm busy, then at least I have a backup. That's the idea behind a team. It's just to give better service. And really, service is the most important thing in any kind of a move or transition, is you want to have good service. So what I wanted to do is just give you a little background about the last couple of years. And if you have any questions as we go, that's fine. Otherwise, we'll have questions at the end. So as everybody knows, really March of 2020 was when everything was pretty much locked down, and including real estate. In fact, I can remember I think it was March 23rd, I had the last inspection here in Ardsley for a little house people were buying, and that was the last piece of real estate I really did until June. Even when things opened up in June, there were still a lot of restrictions, but all of a sudden, June through the end of the year, the amount of business that was done was as much as would have been done in a full year. So that would have been 2020. 2021 was even a busier year, and the reason that these times were busy, and I'm sure you've heard all of this anyway, but in case you haven't, the main reasons that real estate was so busy was that people were now able to work remotely. They wanted more space. They needed a gym. They needed a pool because the kids couldn't go to camp. They needed, just more space because everybody was home. And a lot of people left the city. They wanted to have the fresh air and the greenery, so there was a major migration from the city to the country, basically. Not that Westchester's a country, but so some young millennials and stuff, they think Westchester is upstate, but that's okay. So anyway, that's really what happened, is that so in the last couple of years, and what that really did for prices is it did increase the prices in the area. Now, this past year, really January, February, March, it was crazy. And when I say crazy, meaning I'm sure you've all heard about it because you probably had neighbors. Multiple offers, all of these bidding wars. Well, part of that was fed by the fact that young people knew interest rates were rising. So they were desperate to get into a house and were willing to pay $100,000 or $200,000 more than asking in some cases because they just knew that cost was going to be less than the amortization of that cost over a 30-year mortgage. Now that has changed. The mortgage rates have increased, but I will tell you the prices haven't really come down that much. You know, because there's still a demand out there. People want to live in the river towns. They want to live in Ardsley. They want to live in Dobbs, Irvington, all of the towns. Part of that is the great school systems, the lifestyle. It's great proximity to New York City. So that's really kind of what's happened, and so now things are sort of settling out. It was crazy last year, sort of crazy the year of COVID, but now things are normalizing. So that's a good thing in some cases, some situations. And again, because of the demand in our area, I don't really see the prices. You know, you'll sometimes see if you're online, you know, things are, you know, it's doom and gloom. But in this area, again, because of the lifestyle and proximity to the city and schools, you don't have to worry about that. So now, as you're thinking about downsizing, one of the first questions a lot of people ask me, okay, I'm tired of cleaning out my gutters, I'm tired of my roof leaks or whatever, but where am I going to go? So there are, again, and I have like lists of places, which, right, when I say list, I mean there are places. Most people, if they stay in the area, a lot of people will downsize to a condo, an apartment, something all on one level, because most of the people that I know, as you get to be, you know, in your 60s and 70s or so, you, and speaking from my own experience as well, having everything on one level is really nice, because you don't have to do the steps. Not that people can't do steps, it's just nice to have it all on one level. So most of the time people go to a condo, sometimes a townhouse, but a townhouse has a tendency to be very vertical. You know, you might go in on a garage level and you have a lot of steps. The other thing is that in some cases there are places too, people may want to go to an assisted living type facility, meaning you can have maybe it's a 55 and older complex that would have where you would be able to age in place, meaning if you needed physical therapy or whatever, or you needed other services, you can stay within that same area. There are those facilities in this area, not particularly, and there are also senior living places. It's just, it really depends on your age and your needs and your health and all of that. But again, will you be staying in the area? Some people do relocate out of state. And and you'll all know, I'm sure you can all relate, one of the reasons people relocate out of state is because of the taxes, also because of the weather. So those are things to think about. Do you have family in another area? What are your plans? And all of these things take time to think about. And plus you need to talk to your families about it as well. And then I talked a little bit about all one level living. And the other thing is that some people want to be someplace where they can go to the beach or walk the beach or be in close proximity to the city. I mean, some people do a reverse lifestyle in that a lot of clients we've had actually sell their homes in Westchester and move into the city. In some cases, you know, financially the city is very expensive, but they'll just, you know, they'll get a one-bedroom apartment or whatever. They might sell a bigger home and then be able to buy an apartment in the city. So, as far as the options in this area, I would say White Plains has a lot of new apartments. Again, the tough thing is that these apartments are going to be maybe 1,000 to 1,200 square feet, 2 bedrooms, maybe a den. The toughest thing for people to do, in my experience, is to go from a house to an apartment. And but all of those things you can work through. It's just that it is a tough transition because. And the reason it's a tough transition is because you have so much stuff. That's one thing. And there are also places along the river, in Tarrytown, Sleepy Hollow. They have a lot of new construction, a lot of apartments down there. And when I say apartments, in some cases, they're rentals, and some cases you can buy. The one thing as you are downsizing, in some cases, if people don't know exactly what they'd like to do, renting can make sense because it gives you're not committing again to something financially. The rentals, most of them are brand new, so it's nice moving into a new, fresh space. And then you have time to think about what you'd like to do. And I know from my experience, I sold a house that I had been in almost 19 years. I sold it this year. It closed this past January. And so we transitioned from probably 6,000 square feet to like 2,300, and now I'm buying something that needs to be gutted, but it's maybe 1,800 square feet. But it's interesting as you start the process, and just speaking from experience, it does get easier to whittle down all of your you don't have 5 bedrooms anymore, or 4 bedrooms, or 3 bedrooms, or whatever. You have 1 or 2 bedrooms, so you don't need the same amount of sheets and pillows and all of that stuff. So there are plenty of places to go to. The problem is the location and the lifestyle going to suit you, this goes back to what I was saying before. But those are things that over time you could even drive in White Plains and see some of the newer construction. Maybe you don't want to be in a city. You can go down, check out Terrytown. Or maybe you want to downsize to a smaller house. I mean, there are lots of different options. It's just something you have to do your own soul searching, basically. So the next step really, I think, is to start sorting through your items and categorizing them as best as possible to what you're going to save, what you're going to donate, what you're going to recycle, and then what you're just going to throw away. Now, there are so many different resources, believe it or not, who will pick up in your driveway. Like, even if you started in the near future, like the veterans will pick up. There's a service called Green Drop, and Green Drop, you can donate your items to different organizations. There's breast cancer awareness that will pick up items. And so what it is, at least even if you start small and you have 1 or 2 boxes every month or something, you'd be surprised. It kind of gives you, and especially if you think somebody else can use it. And again, some things you're just going to dispose of, some things you definitely want to keep. And then recycling, there are a lot of things you can recycle as well, fabrics, metal, all of those kind of things. And there are a lot of resources. And what I could even do is, I could even send Peggy links for some of these things, and then you could send them out, or I can send them out, either way. But I think that's one of the problems, is that people don't know what to do with their stuff. And I think that having a few resources, even 1 or 2, I know I've had the veterans, it's actually Green Drop, but I donated the items to the veterans. They come to my house almost once a month, because what's happened is now I realize I really don't need those 2 footstools I've had for 20 years. So I put those out and someone can use those, or I have dishes. I used to entertain for, maybe 30, 35 people. I don't need 35 buffet plates, because I'm not going to be entertaining those people in an apartment. Actually, which reminds me, go ahead.
I was just wondering, I wanted to get your opinion on, since let's say you're going from a large home to a smaller place, I'm doing like a house sale, like a garage sale.
A tag sale?
Yeah, like a tag sale.
Yeah, well, there are companies that you could do it for you. The toughest thing is it's so much work to do and so little money.
Mm-hmm.
Although I will tell you, there are ways you could do it, especially if you're not in a big rush. You could do something like that. Maybe your neighborhood could do it together. Maybe by really publicizing it, and who knows, you could even try to sell some items and donate the money, or there are different ways to incentivize people to come, but it is a lot of work, and you don't get that much for it. The other kind of negative thing is that a lot of times we try to sell stuff for clients, even on Facebook Marketplace, or the problem with all of those services, you guys, is that you get a lot of crazy people, and they, well, I shouldn't say crazy people, but inquiries from all over the world. You have to keep in mind, Facebook is everywhere. So a lot of people do sell on Facebook Marketplace, but you do have to be careful, and then they'll come to your house and they'll pick it up. You just have to be careful. But there are companies that do cleanouts, there are companies that do tag sales. So if you have a lot of really good stuff, maybe a tag sale is the way to go. But there are companies that do those, and then you give them a percentage, which isn't bad, because then they have to do the work, basically. That's the biggest thing, is it's just a lot of work. Okay. Anyway, I'm sorry, I got sidetracked, I guess. The other thing is, certain things you can donate and maybe get a tax benefit to it. Again, certain things just, you're just going to have to start throwing stuff away, which is tough. That's a tough thing to do. But if after you've done the decluttering, the recycling, the selling, all of that, then at a certain point, if you've used something for 20 years, which was hard. My husband was ill, unfortunately, when I was packing our house up. And then one day he was like, okay, well, what happened to those 2 couches? We had these couches literally 19 years from the time my kids were toddlers. I said, they are gone. He goes, but where did they go? I said, they are gone. You don't need those 2 couches. We had almost 20 years worth of goodness out of them. I have a guy that I had come to my house, load up the couches and just take them away. And he probably took them to the dump. But there was nothing else I could do. They weren't good enough to sell. And yes, we had sentimental attachment, but you don't, you don't need extra couches when you're trying to downsize. But there are services like that as well. The other thing is that there are companies like junk luggers. They're generally pretty good, but you have to be a little bit careful with, you're almost better off to go with a non-name brand, like a referral from a friend or whatever. Sometimes junk luggers will give you a quote and then they load your stuff and then it's a little bit, the price changes. So you just want to be careful, and when you're getting quotes from places like that, you just want to make sure that they try to stick with the quote, roughly. One thing I did recently see an article in Real Simple magazine. One of the things they talked about when you're getting ready to downsize and getting rid of things, they had a list of things like start with even toiletries and makeup, medications, junk mail, cleaning supplies, expired food, drinking glasses, water bottles, mugs. You know how we all get a collection of all of those types of items, and you're like, it's still good. I hate to get rid of it, but you just have to. And especially if it's expired food or expired medications or even makeup and stuff expires. The other thing is that desk supplies, towels and sheets, and pet toys and supplies, which brings me to another thought. Pet toys, towels, sheets, a lot of doggy daycare centers or ASPCA, a lot of those places just are crying for blankets and towels and things like that, and dog toys. So that there are places to get rid of some of that stuff. I mean, I know this is a lot, you guys, but this is just to think about. At a certain point, when you feel like you kind of know where you're going to go, or you have some thoughts, and you're starting the process of downsizing your home, meaning getting your house ready, you can talk to a real estate person, and they can come in and tell you. A good real estate person can say, hey, here's what you need to do to get your house really ready. Rather than have you spend money doing something, and say you decide, you know what, I think I need a new countertop. Well, you know what, maybe your countertop is just fine, and maybe taking that countertop money would be better spent in repainting the front of the house, or repainting, say your favorite color was lavender and you have a lavender kitchen. Most likely it would be better spent just neutralizing the color of the kitchen. So a real estate person can help you with that, and then also tell you what you should repair and what renovations, if any. Although I'll be honest with you, I would be really cautious about doing any renovations in a home that you're thinking of selling. It depends on what it is, but it's silly to put too much money in it. It's better to make it as clean and generic as possible, and that a lot of that's just done by putting away items. If you run out of space to put items, then that's when you need to start giving things away, and then making sure that it's clean, the windows are clean, and all of that. That does more. That's almost more of a bang for your buck than, say, renovating a kitchen. It just depends. But anyway, a real estate person can help you with that. And then they also, it also mentions in here too, the renovation or work, if any, and then also staging to a certain extent. I don't know how many of you watch Home and Garden TV. I don't know if any of you do, but they have a lot of renovation projects and a lot of staging projects. And the thing is what's hard for everybody is that we all live in our homes and so it's very personal to us. It's really hard it's hard to step away from your home or where you've lived for the last 10, 15 years and be objective about it. You almost have to step away and then think about, okay, how is a young buyer going to, what's going to appeal to them? And that's where then when is the best time to sell your home? Really, there's a spring market, and But really, anytime you're ready, within reason. I mean, spring is probably the best time to sell. There's a bit of a fall market after Labor Day. And again, it's really whenever you're ready. How much time does it take for the whole downsizing or decluttering of a house? It could take a month of intense work, or it could take years. So, and so it really depends on the person. But I think it doesn't hurt to start the process really a year or two before you even think about moving. Because the other thing that you can do is, as you're going through closets, okay, have I really worn this? It's the same old thing. Have I worn this in the last 6 months? Do I really need this, 7th screwdriver? Do I really need, this backup mower? Or the other thing is I did, and the reason I'm telling you these, because I recently did this. I had these Roman shades that I used to, before I got into the real estate business, I thought I was going to be like semi-retired, but I started sewing. So I had these beautiful Roman shades that I had never properly strung. You know what? It just killed me, but at the end of the day, I had to just donate that fabric. And but because I never got to it, and it was 15 years. But it was all of those kind of things you have to go through and just part with them, and it's not easy. I recently moved my mom. I'm from Minnesota originally, and she was in one apartment in Minnesota. She moved to a newer 55 and older apartment. She's 81, and she hired a service that literally packed her up, packed everything she had, and one day coordinated the move, moved her, unpacked her, and put everything where it was. They took pictures as they went. Now that's the extreme level, but she was elderly, and I didn't live in Minnesota. I would have had to take a month off just to pack her up. She was only moving from a 2-bedroom to a 2-bedroom, but still, there are that level of concierge services for moving, if that's what you're looking for. And there's everything from that to completely doing it on your own. I guess the reason I just want to make sure that you all know that there are these services and businesses out there. It's just a matter of how much you want to spend, really, to a certain extent. So anyway, when and how should I begin the process? So really, pretty much, you could go home today and start going through your closet and your old medicines or makeup or expired food, or who knows. And when I say expired food, like I have a tendency to buy baking things, and then after a while they do expire. I have all these great intentions of projects or cooking or whatever. So okay, the other thing I was going to tell you too is that I'm open to any questions. I do have contractors like attorneys, inspectors, stagers, things like that. If you ever get to a point and you want to just email me and just say, hey, I need a real estate attorney, or I need a contractor to paint, or whatever, just be sure you just email me, and there's information back there with my email on it, and you're welcome to take whatever you want, and I'm always available really for questions, and I try to help a lot of people make the transition, because it is really tough, and again, the earlier you get started, the better.